Hey guys, this is CasualNerdHammer.net, and I'm bringing you round one of the Kings of the Keystone GT. This is GT that Nerdhammer ran down in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. We had 22 people come out for one day, which I feel is completely awesome. So round one is an invade scenario. Our scoring structure goes, you can get up to 15 points on a 20-0 scale based on uh, objectives. So invade, if you invade like your whole army, you get 15 points, whatever. And then basically what you kill is on a sliding scale of 5 other points. So of course I bring my Abyssal Dwarfs and I'm going against Varangur. I swear, guys, I'm not trying to play Varangur every other game. I really am kind of sick of seeing him as an opponent. Um, but here we go. It's a little bit different of a list than what we see. And of course, I do have my gray army with terrible bases, and I know it looks awful in battle reports, but I just trying something different. So I got my Gore Riders here. This is the same list I played at Oktoberfest. Gore Riders here. Got my Grotesques with Caterpillar. Two hordes of Slave Orcs. I have a horde of Golems with my Ironcaster in behind. Another and then another horde of slaves. Then my half breeds got orc riders up in front. Got a troop of slaves. One of my weapons teams, my Dragonfire teams, right there. My slave driver tucked in behind, and Basusu with her gargoyles, and another unit of the fire team on this side. And on his side, he has a unit of sons mounted. He has his king on the Chimera, and of course two Magus Conclaves, unit of dogs. And these guys are the not Bloodsworn. They are like your war band, like you're pretty much your basic infantry. He has BSB in the middle, and he's pretty spread out here. He's another unit of Sons of Korgan, regiment of Sons of Korgan, and another unit of the basic guys, war bands, and dogs and Sons of Korgan. So he's pretty spread out, and I kind of like that. I feel like I'm going to try to just split his army in half. My right flank is a little weak. He has the unit, the regiment over there, and the king. And the only thing I really have to counter the king is Basusu. So I'm a little worried about that flank, but this flank feels pretty good to me. So he wins the roll to go first, decides to go first. We are rolling for turn 7 in this event, so that's gonna throw a little curveball into some of the matchups, and I think that's a good thing. So, yep, moves up like this on his side, and he decides to take some shots. Does 2 wounds to my fire team and wavers them, which is pretty annoying. Not that they're going to be able to shoot anything anyway, but they're just kind of in the way. And turn 1 me, I decide to push up. He had these dogs outside of 16, so I just decided to put him up in his face, which helps me block up his regiment of sons in the back there. Even with his pivot being so close to the edge of the table because of that terrain piece, it's going to buy me a little time. So I do decide to push up a little bit more aggressively on this side. I'm giving myself, I think, like 14 inches here. I'm just out of range of his regiment here so that he can't even get around any type of way to get to me in case, some of the movement shenanigans, like if he pushes up, maybe he can pivot enough and get into those guys. I just don't want that happening. Just playing the range game for now. I have a really solid center, and I feel like I can break his army in half, and that's what I'm trying to do. I end up surging these guys up. They actually get just into the woods, which I think is I kind of like it. You'll see why moving forward. And over here, not I kind of set this up just because his conclave are there. I want to protect the half breeds so that they at least get cover here if they decide to shoot at him. The half breeds are kind of they hit hard, but they need some protection, and that's why I put it up like this. But it's not the best positioning in the world. And over here, so I decide to, yeah, there's a surge. Let me go back one. I bring Basusu. She's actually out of the arc of his king, which is great. These guys, I think, are too far away. They're over 20, and Basusu's out of the 16 for the regiment. So it's a nice little. I like the positioning here because although it doesn't seem like I'm applying pressure, it is leaving him to make tough decisions. Like, where's he going to go? If these regiment of knights decide to push this flank, try to shoot this gap here, it's going to take him multiple turns to get around into my backfield. I'm not overly concerned. What I would be more concerned with is him bringing these guys in this way. So I'm just kind of playing the cat and mouse game on this side, trying to make sure that to at least have a threat there, so that he has to make some harder decisions. Um, so yeah, that's just a surge to get those guys up into the woods. And turn two, he decides to take his dogs into my cav. I know how this fight goes. I've fought it so many times. They can't pop them on one go. So I know that's going to delay him a little bit. I'm glad to see that he didn't just reface these guys, which I think would have been the better option. I think he was thinking he was going to blow through here, and I fought this so many times. They usually get wavered, and if not, it's even worse for him. So I was really comfortable with having this set up the way it was. Instead of bringing his warband into the golems, he decides to just reform and face the threats that are coming. I mean, yeah, if he goes in here, going through the woods and everything, he's not going to do anything to those defense 6 golems. Maybe he could have done something with a combo charge, I'm thinking, with his knights, but I have so many counter charges that these guys are in a tough spot at the moment, especially with how this is going to go. I think he was maybe he was thinking he was more optimistic on this side, and thinking he was going to have 2 knight regiments to threaten, but I've seen this before. So over here, he takes the dogs into my gore riders, and what Kings of War give us, they take it away. This is going to be the same deal. Like, I know how this one goes, and he doesn't get through that unit like I would want him to on this side, but not on the other side. So yeah, so that's kind of a give and take there. And over here, so his conclave decided to shoot at my gargoyles and ended up taking them off the table. So yeah, I guess that's better. I'd rather them shooting at these guys than the Abyssal half breeds. But this really opens up this flank for him, and if he decides to go to the center of the table, I'm going to be in trouble. I need Basusu to really do some work, or at least hold him up or something. So yeah, as I predicted, these guys get wavered, which is a horrible result for me, because the Abyssal half-breeds are just so stuck there. And over here, yeah, these guys get wavered with only 3 wounds too, so that went as expected. So turn 2 me, I decide to come out. I take the golems into his warband. They're not going to get through there. They're going to be hitting on 5s, rerolling 1s because they have the elite item on them. And yeah, so I know they're not going to get through around one go, but at least it clogs things up a little bit. It clogs that knight regiment. He's going to have to use both of them to double charge, and by that time I should be getting into some good positioning with the rest of my hordes. And over here, yeah, not much I could do. I push these guys up in the woods. If his warband wants to go through the woods and try to fight, they're never going to get through the slave unit in one go. So I'm pretty comfortable with that. And I'm also comfortable if he doesn't do anything for me charging there, or even charging to the left here, giving myself range on both sides, which is pretty sweet. And just push up the rest of the guys. I bring these guys over to take shots at the dogs. Those guys are going to take shots at the dogs too. I'm hoping to clear those guys out. Which I think I do, but I don't think I have a picture of it. I think there was enough shooting to pop those guys. And up here, yeah, I fly Basusu in a nice little position. And this is again just creating this threat. He can waste his conclave shots on Basusu. He's not going to get her out off the table in one go. And she's threatening the conclaves and just kind of making a mess of this side. He has to be aware of her and be careful with how he acts. I mean, she can't get through anybody on one go, but I can ground his flyer if I go into him. I can hold these knights up, but I don't really see these knights as a threat. I don't really feel like I need to hold them up. So in this combat here, I do 8 wounds with the golems, which is actually pretty good. And I roll double 6s, so they're wavered, which is the worst, terrible result for him with his knights just sitting in behind. Yeah, that went very, very well. And so turn 2, I think it's turn 3. Yeah, turn 3, Varangur, he takes his dogs back into my gore riders, and this is where mistake. He needed to reposition these guys and get these out of the way. I guess he feels that they're going to pop through this time, but he needs to face the center, and I think he did this a turn too late. But that's good for me. And over here, these guys can't do anything. He repositions his knight, slides them over to worry about, I guess, more of the center area. And he takes his warband into my slaves. So they're going to be at -1 hit going in there. I'm okay with that. And over here, yeah, he just decides to push the knights up. I'm okay with it. It's still going to take him, if he's going to swing around here, it's still going to take him a couple turns to get to be threatening at all. So I'm definitely okay with that. And he flies his king this way. This is what I was worried about. If he would have brought the knights into this direction, he has plenty of time to get across the board, being only in turn 3. I think he could have put more of a threat on me on this flank. So his shooting takes off my Gore Riders and waivers. These guys just stick around, man. 50 points, and you have to waste conclave shots on them to get them off the table, and they just get wavered. I love the fire team. They're so good, so good. So over here, he does 2 more wounds and doesn't waver these guys. So these Gore Riders have been absolute champions on this side, just holding up so many points, and I can't complain. Over here, he does 7 wounds to the slaves. That's probably pretty good. I don't know how many attacks they had, maybe 25, but they're okay. No issues there with nerve, so that's fine. It's gonna be great for my counter charge. And I don't know what that's a shot of. Yeah, just that side. So it's my turn 3. So the Gore Riders, they counter into the dogs, and I decided, since I have some time on this side, I decided to just throw everything at these guys to clean them up, get them off the table. It gives me good distance with these guys, with the grotesques, and really just pushes a lot of my units on his side of the table. So I'm pretty happy with that. I know I'm going to bust through those and be able to reform. So I'm feeling pretty good here. I double charge these guys. The Abyssal Half-Breeds finally are able to open up and get in. They are going to be -1 going to the woods, of course, but I'm pretty fine with that. My Ironcaster, he's taking shots at his BSB with the fireball, since I don't need the surge. These guys don't have any wounds, so I couldn't even heal them. But yep, so that's the way it's looking at the center of the table. And over here, I decided to put Basusu into the rear of his king. It's just kind of a ploy. Like, I guess I could have went after the Magus Conclave, but I'm just kind of hoping that if Basusu shows up and like does a decent amount of wounds, that she might look more threatening, that he might give up the center with this guy and just try to kill her. I don't know how that's going to go, because Basusu's pretty much hit or miss. Sometimes those 8 dice are awesome, and sometimes you get like 2 hits. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. And over here, the double 6s. Oh, yeah, my fire team shoots, does 1 move to these knights and wavers them. I mean, that sucks. That just sucks, because I mean, like I was saying about him taking a couple turns to get over into my backfield, now it's going to be an extra turn, so that worked out pretty well for me. Over here, yeah, I do pop these guys. I decided to just go ahead D6 with these dudes to block up the cav, and I moved D6 ahead with my grotesque, which gave me, I only needed to roll basically above a 1 to be out of the charge range of his Sons of Corrigan regiment that's on the left side. So even these guys, I don't even think their flank are in. So I was feeling pretty good there. I'm starting to push up, get on his side of the table. Yeah, I was disappointed here. I only did 15 wounds. I did waver these guys, but I kind of was hoping to pick them up real quick and clear out that center, but it didn't turn out that way. So his turn 4, yeah, he decides, oh, that's right. Yeah, these guys, they couldn't even get, that's right, they couldn't even see these dudes because of the way the positioning was. They weren't able to charge. So he decides to finally reface these guys to the center of the table. And I only did 1 wound to the dogs, but they decide to countercharge and go into my Gore Riders, which that should be enough that time to get them. But they did their job on that side. His regiment of knights do go into my golems in the center, and he just decides to back up with his move, his waver move, with the warband in the middle. And over here, yeah, he didn't take the bait with the king, so the king flanks the Abyssal Half-Breeds, which I was just hoping were going to blow through these guys and be able to reform and face the king. But even then, I mean, then they at least have a chance. But with the king in the flank, it's a no-go. So I lost the Half-Breeds there, which is unfortunate. I probably should have thought better on that side. Really want to get the warband out of the way, though. So yeah, over here the dogs pick them up, and the best they can reform looks like that. So my turn 4, these guys aren't facing this direction, although looking at the pictures now, I probably wouldn't have been a bad idea, because I do have a lot of attacks going after this regiment. But I decided to take everybody at him just to clean them up, and be able to do some reforms and such on this side. And over here, you have my slaves with 10 wounds decide to go back into the warband. I'm hoping that's going to be enough to clear them up. They are still hindered because it's not a counter charge. And I decided to take Basusu and the troop into the king, just trying to get some points off of him. Threaten some nerve checks and see if I can pick him up. Over here, he decides to back up with these guys. They can easily get within 25 or 24 inches on my side of the table with the turns that are remaining. But he just wanted to put them in a position that if I poke these guys out to shoot at him, that he'll be able to countercharge. I'm not going to give him that option because I don't want these guys getting any extra movement than they need. And over here, yeah, I pick up his Regiment of Suns, and I face this direction. I mean, my units are so big that, reforming after a combat is pretty tough. So I'm just trying to get in a way that I can threaten this side. I'm not too worried about the king and stuff. I mean, if he comes over, I can reform and do some things. But this is the immediate threat right now. And I face my golems this direction. This is more to protect against the king. But they do have 8 wounds on them now, and they're fearless 17. So, they have Magus Conclave that are going to be shooting at them too. So I'm a little worried here. I want to try to get some heals going with my Iron Caster. Hopefully I can take some of those wounds off. And here, yeah, I think 6 wounds on the king now. Just not enough to do anything to him. And I'm bringing this fire team over to, I don't know, I'm trying to get him across the board, get him in the woods or something. But we'll see. So yeah, 6 wounds there. So at least he can't fly. He's forced to countercharge, pretty much. Turn 5, which is exactly what he does. He countercharges the troops of slaves, which he should be able to pick them guys up pretty easy. Over here, he brings his dogs with the nimble to threaten the flanks of both of my slave units, and he is playing the range game here with his Regiment of Suns. And yeah, the Magus Conclave are starting to come over to take care of threats over here. King picks up the troops, and the Magus Conclave are able to nick off all the wounds on the obsidian golems. Yeah, man, Conclave are so good with the piercing too. I mean, they look at defense 6 and laugh pretty much. So, yep, that's what happens there. It's unfortunate to lose that big unit. That was a big threat for me. So over here, yeah, I'm repositioning, playing a range game. I'm throwing these slaves up. If he wants to charge, he can. I got some counter charges. I could pick them off. Over here, some poor positioning. I actually gave these dogs a flank here, which is definitely unfortunate. But what can you do? I just didn't pay attention to it and measure it out correctly. And over here, I take the slaves and Basusu back into the king. These guys are going to be hindered, but they do have 25 attacks. I'm hoping that they can do some damage to the king, because where he is now, he is definitely on my side of the table. That's a lot of points that I can deny him if I could pick the king up 300 and some 350 points, somewhere around there. So turn 6, he decides not to charge here. I think he's hoping maybe if there's a turn 7 to do something with those guys. I'm not really sure. And he does get to flank here. I mean, the dogs aren't going to get through a whole slave unit, but it does delay me. I made a mistake here, because if I counter charge, I'm definitely going to be on my side of the table, and it's just not good positioning. So the king is up to 11 wounds. He decides to counter charge and go into my slave unit, which he's probably going to pick up. He doesn't have to do too many wounds to roll some beneficial nerve check. And over here, yeah, he positions these guys, and they are finally on the side of the table. I'm going to try to take another shot at them. You never know. Maybe something fantastic happens. Over here, yeah, the dogs only do 2 wounds. They weren't even hindered, actually. So, yeah, they just roll kind of poor. And my turn 6, I measured it out. There was no way on turn 6 I could get these guys on his side of the table. So I just decided to countercharge, pick up the dogs, and delete that unit so that he's at least not getting points for the dogs in invade. And I just reposition as such, trying to get everybody over. Just keeping on that side of the table for invade. So here on this side, I have a choice to make. If it goes to turn 7, I'm going to get his king. If I charge Basusu in. So if I charge Basusu in, I have a chance of popping him. He does have 11 wounds on him, and I think he's 18-20. So if Basusu does a couple wounds, some good rolls, I could pop him on this turn. And if it goes to turn 7, I can absolutely pop him because he's not going to be able to get away from me. And I don't think he's going to be able to. I think Basusu only has like 1 wound on her right now. I don't think he'll have enough to get through her. My other option was I could just fly Basusu on his side of the table and try to negate some of this. She's 220 points, he's 350. I could take some of his points away. I thought it was a better risk. I thought the odds were more favorable to just go in and try to kill him. Basusu rolled kind of low. I still needed a 7 to break him, and I rolled a 7. Then the re-roll, I didn't get it, so I didn't break him, and it did not go to turn 7, unfortunately. So the game ends up being a dead even tie, 10-10. Kill points were only like 30 points difference, and invade was like 30-point difference. Like it was so close. I mean, it was such an even match. Um, I, I think I would do the same thing again because tournament point wise, like it was only gonna be one other, like 1 point maybe in my favor if I just fly Basusu, but if I kill him, it's much more points. So I went with it. Got a draw. I'm okay with a draw. This tournament has a lot of good players at it, and the good players, they weren't really matched up against each other early. And I should not say good players, but top tier players. Um, so there was some big first round wins, and I'm kind of glad to just kind of be under the radar. I wish I would have got some more points than 10, but it was a fun game. This opponent is coming over from Warhammer Fantasy, and it's great to see more players get involved in Kings of War. So it was a good game. As far as going back, I don't think there's much I would change. I feel like I made the switch and tried to put my golems more centralized. I feel like in the last tournament I was holding them back a little too much, and for how good they are, especially with having elite and vicious, I just really want to throw these guys out there and say, here, you guys deal with them, and see how they go. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good. It was a good game. Kind of wish I got some more points out of it, but I took a risk here and I was hoping I could get that king. Um, but yeah, the Magus Conclave, man. If you play Varangur and you're not running at least 2 of those guys, you're doing it wrong because they are just punishing turn after turn. And the thing is, like Basusu going into them, um, I don't know. I've seen her just not do enough wounds to them, and that just is such a waste of time. But yeah, so that's how it went. Thanks guys for watching, and round 2 will be coming up soon.